Welcome to Dateline SAU, your source for the latest news and sports from St. Ambrose University. I'm David Meyer.
And I'm Charles Hart. St. Ambrose University students, faculty, and staff swarmed their community for a day of service as a part of an annual fall event. This Sunday was Be the Difference Day. A force of over 600 students, faculty, and staff marched into local neighborhoods to help homeowners with yard work.
Getting that feeling of we're actually giving back and getting out into the community and giving back is something that is completely worthwhile.
Everybody can grow a little bit and learn a little bit from coming out and doing some work and putting some sweat in and helping out everybody in the community.
Be the Difference Day has been an event that has been more than just raking leaves, especially for 96-year-old SAU neighbor Mary Costello.
They have recarpeted my back steps. When they took the old carpet off, they found the cement wasn't good, so they had to re-cement. So they cemented one day, came back the next day, and finished carpeting.
Student Government Association Vice President Laura Malloy believes it was a day to celebrate being in Ambrosian.
It's really awesome just to go out to the community because the neighbors get really excited. They really like having students come to rake their leaves. Yeah! Ow! So it's really just kind of like a day of celebration, I would say.
The Student Government Association organizes this event every year. Be the Difference Day started in 2006.
Another way students gave back to their community this week was through a blood drive held on campus Wednesday afternoon. The drive was hosted by Impact Life, located here in Davenport.
Our goal is actually 44, so that would be a combination of our whole blood and our automation. And then that would, if we kind of are on track for that, that would serve about 125 patients.
Impact Life provides life-saving blood products to more than 125 hospitals in Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, and Wisconsin.
Thursday was Veterans Day, and the St. Ambrose community honored veterans with a week of activities, beginning Monday night, the Vigil for the Fallen. Students from the Military and Veterans Organization encouraged everyone who came out to light a candle for the 13 soldiers who recently gave their lives in Afghanistan.
This honors the 11 years that we went without an American blood shed on Afghan land, and we want the names to be remembered, not in a political stance, but in an actual honor.
Other events throughout the week included a fundraiser for the QC Veterans Outreach Center, a special blessing after Wednesday's Mass and more, and the second annual SAU Walk to Remember.
SAU's GreenLife Club hosted an event Tuesday morning in the Beehive that emphasized eco-friendly products and working to keep the planet healthy. Dateline SAU's Jamie Hennekins takes us to the SAU Sustainability Fest.
The event worked to introduce students to organizations in the area that are using sustainable techniques to produce their products.
It's really about just educating students about sustainability and showing them that there are resources in the Quad Cities that they can utilize to learn more and get involved or volunteer or get paid.
Other clubs involved in the event included Campus Ministry, Enactus, and the Student Government Association. Together, their mission was to link sustainable companies to a valuable resource, SAU students.
So whether they're looking for more volunteers for service projects or whether they have things that they can sell to our students, we're here to welcome them today and introduce them to what our campus has to offer.
The event was followed by a roundtable discussion on how to further promote sustainability in the community, as well as on campus. For more information about sustainability, you can visit their Instagram page at SAU GreenLife. Jamie Hennekins, Dateline SAU.
On Monday, the St. Ambrose community celebrated its annual First Generation Student Day. There was a social in the Beehive in Ambrose Hall. Light refreshments were served as attendees listened to music and shared their own experiences as a first-generation student with their peers.
I definitely think that it's important to get involved and to not be afraid to ask questions. I know that going into college, you kind of have this idea that you have to have everything figured out and that asking for help or asking questions can be kind of a scary thought. But I think it's important to know that it's okay to ask questions and to not have everything figured out.
The mission of this annual tradition is to spread awareness and celebrate the strength of first-generation students, faculty, and staff here at SAU.
November is National Native American Heritage Month, and the St. Ambrose Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion has created a cultural display to celebrate. The display includes important Native American historical figures, a map of local nations, and other cultural artifacts. The exhibit will travel to various locations around campus until the end of the month.
Diwali, a festival of lights that celebrates the triumph of good over evil, was observed by SAU students last week. International student Shraddha Sudhir says celebrations vary across India.
We typically light lamps called diyas all around the house, and so there's a lot of light and other decorations like floral arrangements or chalk markings on the floor all across and things like that. You invite friends, family, there's a lot of fireworks involved.
The festivities can run anywhere from 2 days to a week.
The St. Ambrose Jazz Ensemble had its fall concert on Sunday. This was the band's first in-person event in 2 years. Band director Nicholas Enns says that preparation for their long-awaited concert began early in the year.
We start on the very first day of school rehearsing, and how that works, we psych read a bunch of music. I think a lot of us were nervous because we hadn't performed for a live audience in over 2 years. Yeah, there was definitely a larger turnout and a lot of people we hadn't seen before.
It was really nice. My parents haven't seen me perform, at least here, for at least 2 years now. So it was really nice to be able to have my family here and support me, and even my friends that came out too. It was really nice.
The music department is now preparing for an Ambrosian Christmas concert, which will be in Galvin on December 11th.
Coming up in sports, several fall teams start postseason play.
One of those teams, the women's soccer squad, looks to use the home turf to their advantage as they seek a conference title.
We'll have game highlights and more coming up after the break.
On Dateline SAU.
Right away, once I got to Ambrose, I was involved. I was on the newspaper. I was working in the broadcasting with the Ambrose television and news production. And through all of those different experiences, I really learned a lot about myself, and I really learned all kinds of skills that I still use today. And I'm really excited and proud that I still use all those skills today, and most of that foundational knowledge came from Ambrose in those classes.
We're more than a radio station. We're your neighbors, investing time in our community. We're mentors, guiding the next generation of broadcasters. We're supporters of veterans, partners with social service agencies, and investigators of history. We're dedicated sports fans. We're committed to the stories that make the Quad Cities unique. We are KALA Radio, 88.5 FM, 106.1 FM. Turn it on, turn it up.
The Fighting Bee football team was looking to snap a 2-game losing streak when they hosted their final home game of the season Saturday. It would be a tough order, as the opponent was 14th ranked St. Xavier. Prior to kickoff, St. Ambrose recognized 28 football seniors playing in their final home game, and things looked good early. On the first play from scrimmage, the Cougars muffed the snap, setting up good field position for St. Ambrose. The Bees settle for a 34-yard field goal by Tom Gillen and take an early lead, 3-0. The Cougars respond, and this 22-yard run puts St. Xavier on top, 6-3. The momentum definitely stays with the visitors in the second and third quarters as St. Xavier runs off 5 unanswered touchdowns and wins this one in convincing fashion, 40-13. The Bees dropped to 2-4 in the Mid-States Conference, 3-7 overall. They hope to end the season on a more positive note when they travel to Missouri Baptist for their final game of the year. The women's soccer team was riding a 3-game winning streak when they opened conference tournament play at Olivet Nazarene last week. The Bees won that contest 1-0, and when St. Francis upset number 1 seed Judson on the other side of the bracket, the Bees found that they would next get to host a semifinal match on Tuesday. It didn't take long for the home team. Just 2 minutes into the contest, Morgan Wallen delivers a corner kick that Riley Garcia heads into the net, and SAU is on the board. The fans had barely settled back into their seats when Wallen cleans things up in front of the goal, making the score 2-0. The Bees kept pounding away all night, but stops like this kept the score where it was, and St. Ambrose advances with a 2-0 semifinal win. The Bees had an 11-1 advantage in corner kicks and outshot the Saints 21-4, and the defense notched their 10th shutout of the season. St. Ambrose will now play at Trinity Christian in Palos Heights, Illinois for the CCAC Championship. The men's basketball team came away with a very tight win when they hosted Mount Mercy in Leland Arena on Monday night. The men were hot out of the gate and got up on the scoreboard immediately with this layup from Tom Kazanecki, assisted by Drake Gunn. Kazanecki proved to be a major asset to the outcome of the game with 3-pointers like this one to contribute to the Bees' 50% shooting from behind the arc. St. Ambrose would even dominate from the charity stripe, knocking down 25 of 31 chances, or 80%, thanks to Kieran Farrell, Patrick Torrey, seen here, and Kazanecki, and others. The Bees would never fall behind the Mustangs in the second half. Smart shooting and excellent defensive posture allowed the team to comfortably rack up stats, including recovering 43 rebounds on the night, opening the season with a win. The men followed up that win by hosting another game 2 nights later. This time, Judson University came to Lee Loman to take on the Bees and open up conference play. The arena was electric for these two teams to go head-to-head. Once again, Tom Kazanecki made his presence felt almost immediately to get the Bees on the board. But Kazanecki wasn't the only one feeling the magic. Grant Mason put up 9 points himself and knocked down half of his 3-point attempts. The Bees would continue their positive shooting trend, putting away 53% of their 3-pointers with the help of Nathan Moeller, who didn't miss from behind the 3-point arc over the night. Despite the positive start, the Bees would begin to crumble in the second half, allowing a 15-point lead to dwindle to just a 1-point difference. The game boiled down to free throws, and the Bees put their trust in Will Spriggs to keep the lead. Spriggs tallied 4 free throws in the final 22 seconds of the game to seal the deal for the Bees. Final score, 76-74. The women's basketball team did not fool around, looking for their 4th straight win as they opened CCAC action on home Wednesday night. The Eagles gave the Bees plenty of chances at the free throw line, and the women capitalized on that. The Bees knocked down just under 70% of their 26 attempts at the line. It was an offensively heavy night for the Bees, and Kylie Robluski led the way with a double-double of 15 points and 13 rebounds. The Eagles simply could not keep up. Maddie Cash dropped 11 points herself in just 23 minutes on the court to contribute to the Bees' victory, including recovering her own rebound and making the layup to tack another 2 on the board. Sisters Madeline and Janie Prestigard combined for 19 points, with Janie narrowly missing a double-double of her own with 9 points and 10 rebounds. 4 Bees finished the night in double digits to contribute to the 71-39 blowout. St. Ambrose will be back in action on Saturday at Roosevelt. The women's volleyball team saw its season come to an end Tuesday when they dropped a 3-1 conference quarterfinal decision at St. Xavier in Chicago. The Cougars, who had gone undefeated in CCAC play this year, advanced to the semifinals, while the Bees finish up the season with a 19-12 record. The men's cross-country team finished third in the 13-team field in the CCAC Championships in Bourbonnais, Illinois. Nolan Rudd placed second individually out of 115 runners. The women grabbed 6th place in a 10-team field. Emma Duncan was the top B finisher in the women's event, coming in 21st. The teams will now await results from other conference meets across the country to see if they will qualify as a team for nationals. The SAU swimming and diving team showed why they are ranked 4th in the country as they easily outdistanced Morningside in a men's and women's dual meet in Sioux City. Both teams won 7 individual events and both relay events in the sweep of the Mustangs. The Bees will return to competition the weekend of November 19th for the Co-Invitational. That will wrap it up for athletics for this week from SAU. I'm Cameron Giampaolo.
And that's all we have for you on this edition of Dateline SAU.
We'll be back next week with the latest news and sports from St. Ambrose University.
Remember to check out the SAU TV Facebook and Instagram pages for our newscasts, late-breaking news, and more.
You can also find news stories and videos on The Hive at sauthebuzz.com.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week.